There is a very specific, a very painful tragedy in the modern business world. It's the tragedy of the passive storefront. You know the vibe I'm talking
Oh, I
about.
know it well. It's the digital equivalent of opening a high-end boutique in a basement, locking the door, and then wondering why nobody's buying anything.
That is the perfect image. I mean, you spend thousands on the website, the photos are crisp, the About Us page brings a tear to the eye, the logo is like award-winning, but the site just sits there.
Mm-hmm.
It's polite, it's well-dressed, but it's completely alone in the dark.
It's a brochure in a drawer.
Right. And today, we are going to talk about how to take that brochure out of the drawer and turn it into what we're calling an active client acquisition engine. We are unpacking a case study that is, well, it's honestly a masterclass in breaking the silence.
And what I love about this particular deep dive is that we aren't talking about some massive corporation with $1 million ad budget. We're looking at a local physical therapy practice, Strength and Motion PT.
Strength and Motion. Great name, by the way. But as we'll see, a great name doesn't get you clicks. We are tracking their journey from being digitally invisible, literally 0 clicks, to generating a consistent stream of potential clients. And we're doing it using the only data source that actually matters.
Google Search Console.
Exactly.
Which is really the doctor's chart for your website.
Yeah.
Forget vanity metrics or social media likes.
Yeah.
GSE tells you the cold, hard truth about how the internet sees you.
So set the stage for us. Before we get into the intervention, which involves some really smart content strategy, we need to understand the mechanics. You always talk about the plumbing of search. I think most of our listeners know the basics: crawling, indexing, serving. But why does this plumbing usually fail for small businesses?
It usually fails at the indexing stage, but maybe not for the reason people think.
Yeah.
Most people assume, oh, Google's bots found my page, so I'm good. But crawling is just discovery.
Yeah.
It's just the bot, waving hello. Indexing is where the judgment happens.
It's the difference between being allowed in the library and actually being put on the shelf.
That's a great way to put it. But here's the nuance. Google's library is infinite, but it's prime real estate. Page 1 is tiny. If the librarian Google doesn't understand exactly what your book is about, or if it thinks your book is just a duplicate of 1,000 others, it files you in the basement.
So you're indexed technically, but you're buried.
You're buried. And that leads to the third step, serving.
Yeah.
If you're in the basement, you never get served to the user asking a question.
Precisely. And that's where the 0-click barrier comes from. You might exist, but you aren't relevant enough to be the answer.
Which brings us to our patient, Strength and Motion PT. Let's look at the before snapshot. This is late August 2025. What was the reality?
Stark. We looked at the data for a specific measurement period, and the site generated a total of, 102 impressions?
102.
Okay, 102 impressions. And to be clear for everyone, that means the link appeared on a screen 102 times. It doesn't mean anyone looked at it, clicked it, or even slowed their scroll.
Correct. And in the context of the internet, 102 impressions over several weeks is, well, it's effectively silence. It's statistical noise.
And the click-through rate?
0.
A flat 0.
Not a single person clicked.
Yeah.
The site was functionally a ghost town.
Now, I want to challenge this for a second. A lot of business owners see data like that and think, well, the economy is down, or maybe people just don't need physical therapy right now.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the issue, was it?
Not at all. I mean, people are always in pain. The demand is constant. The issue was the types of queries triggering those impressions. When we dug into the data, the only time the site appeared was when someone typed Strength and Motion Physio, or the brand name directly.
The classic digital handshake.
Exactly. The site only worked for people who already knew it existed. It was verifying, not acquiring. If I'm a new patient with a sore knee and I don't know the name Strength and Motion, this website might as well be on Mars.
So the mission was to shift from ranking for who we are to ranking for what we solve.
That is the pivot point.
And this is where I want to get into the weeds, because this is where most people get it wrong. They hear content strategy and think, okay, I'll write a blog about our office Christmas party or something like that. But Strength and Motion didn't do that. They published 3 very specific pages.
Right. They didn't just throw spaghetti at the wall. They engaged in what we call intent-driven content engineering.
Okay, that sounds fancy. Break that down. What were the 3 pillars?
The topics were chronic pain coaching, osteoarthritis, and rheumatoid arthritis, and fibromyalgia treatment.
Heavy topics. High anxiety topics.
High anxiety and, crucially, high nuance. These aren't questions like, what is the capital of France? These are, my life is miserable, help me, problems.
So let's drill down. The data shows the osteoarthritis page was the absolute MVP here. It didn't just rank, it dominated. Why? I mean, there are millions of pages about arthritis on WebMD and Mayo Clinic. How does a local PT practice beat them?
This is the secret sauce. It's about specificity and a unique angle. The page didn't just define osteoarthritis, it targeted a specific fear. It ranked position 1 for weight training for osteoarthritis.
Weight training for osteoarthritis. That's interesting because I feel like the common wisdom is, oh, my joints hurt, I should rest.
Bingo. That's why it worked. Most generic medical sites give very safe vanilla advice. Rest, ice, take it easy. But the searcher, the human being behind the keyboard, wants to know, can I still live my life? Can I still lift weights?
So Strength and Motion came in with a contrarian expert opinion.
They validated the user's desire to be active. By answering yes, and here is how, they satisfied a search intent that the big hospitals were just ignoring. This is what we call information gain in SEO. They added something new to the conversation.
They weren't just echoing the library, they wrote a new chapter.
Exactly. And they likely structured the page using semantic clustering. They probably didn't just write a wall of text. They used headers H2s and H3s that broke down the problem. Benefits of loading, movements to avoid, sample exercises. This makes the content skimmable for the user and really easy for the Google bot to parse.
So the Google bot crawls it, sees that structure, sees the unique information gain, and says, this is the best answer on the internet for this specific question.
And puts it on the top shelf, position 1.
That's brilliant. What about the other pages? You mentioned fibromyalgia. That's a tough condition to treat and a tough keyword to crack.
It is. And the performance there was fascinating. It had an average position of 6.72 SEO, solid, page 1. It brought in 93 impressions and 1 click. But looking at the queries, it ranked for fibromyalgia treatment, Denver COs, and coaching for pain and stress.
Denver. Wait, we're Strength and Motion based.
They're a local practice, but not in Denver. But this shows how Google tests content. It saw a relevant query about pain coaching and decided this content was good enough to show to someone in Colorado.
That's the visibility trap, though, right? I mean, 93 impressions and 1 click. Is that a failure?
Not at all. It's a signal. It tells us that Google trusts the content enough to show it. The low clicks might just mean the user saw Denver in their search, but realized the clinic wasn't local, but the authority was established.
And then the third page, chronic pain coaching.
This one had the highest visibility, 229 impressions, but again, only 1 click. And it ranked top 4 for New York chronic pain coach.
New York again. We're seeing a pattern here.
We are. And this actually leads to the most surprising insight of the entire case study. We call it the Global Footprint Anomaly.
Yeah, I was looking at the geographic data, and I thought it was a glitch. Australia, Portugal, Canada, the UK, India, Brazil, and Qatar.
Qatar.
Okay, I have to play the skeptic here. I'm a local business owner. I see traffic from Qatar. My first instinct is, this is useless. This is a bot. This is a waste of my server bandwidth. Why should I care if someone in Doha reads my blog about knees?
It is a totally fair question. If you're selling coffee, a customer in Qatar is useless. But in the eyes of Google, that traffic is gold. It comes back to topical authority.
Explain that.
Google wants to know if you are an expert. If people from all over the world, diverse locations, different devices, are landing on your page, staying there, and reading the content, that sends a massive signal of trustworthiness. It tells Google, this isn't just a local shop, this is a global resource.
And that global badge of honor helps you back home.
Immensely. It lifts the entire domain. Because you are a global resource for osteoarthritis, Google is far more likely to rank you number 1 when someone locally searches physio near me. The global trust reinforces the local ranking.
That is actually kind of mind-blowing. So you cast the net wide to catch the fish in your own pond.
That's the strategy.
Let's get back to the numbers because I want to verify the impact. We went from 102 impressions in August. Fast forward to early January 2026, just 10 days after these pages went live. What happened?
The impressions skyrocketed to 1,088.
That is a 966% increase, nearly 10x visibility.
In 10 days.
Now look, 10x growth sounds like one of those crypto scams. To the moon! Are we sure this wasn't just a fluke? Maybe Google ran an update. Maybe a bot farm hit the site.
We checked that. We scrubbed the data. There were no broad core updates from Google during this window. No technical back-end changes. The only variable was the publication of those 3 pages. This was pure organic growth driven by content relevance.
Okay, so the plumbing works. The library has shelved the books correctly. But impressions are vanity, right? You can't pay the rent with impressions. Did anyone actually walk through the door?
They did. We went from that flat line 0 clicks to 34 total clicks in just 10 days.
34 humans.
34 potential patients. And the consistency is what convinced me. It wasn't one viral spike on Tuesday and then silence. From January 2nd onward, there were clicks every single day, peaking at 7 clicks on January 7th.
That's a predictable funnel. That's a machine.
Exactly. And just to put a cherry on top of this growth trajectory, we actually have the most current data right here.
Yeah, I saw this in the notes. We have the data through yesterday, January 18th. What's the latest count?
The rolling 28-day count is now at 80 clicks.
80. So we've more than doubled the initial surge.
The snowball is rolling, 80 clicks a month. Let's do some quick napkin math. In the private practice world, a new patient plan of care might be worth what? $1,500? $2,000?
Easily.
Even if the conversion rate is terrible, let's say 5%. That's 4 new patients. That's $6,000 to $8,000 in revenue from a website that 3 months ago was worth 0.
And that's monthly, recurring, without spending a dime on Zuckerberg or Google Ads.
0 ad spend. That's the power of organic search.
There is one data point we skipped over that I think fits into this user behavior discussion. Mobile versus desktop.
Yes. Mobile beat desktop. 18 clicks to 16.
That's close, but it's significant.
It tells us about the moment of need. People aren't researching this from their office desktop at work. They are on the couch, in pain, scrolling on their phone. Or they are at the gym, looking at a squat rack, wondering if they should do it.
And because the content was formatted correctly skimmable, fast-loading Google felt comfortable serving it to a mobile user.
Exactly. If that page had been a slow-loading PDF or a wall of tiny text, Google would have buried it for mobile users.
Okay, so we've broken the barrier. The passive storefront is open for business. The open sign is neon. But you hinted earlier that getting the traffic is only step 1.
Right. Traffic is just opportunity. Now you have to capture it.
Conversion.
We know people are landing on the weight training for osteoarthritis page. We know they're interested. But is the business asking them to do anything?
It's call to action.
This is the next frontier for strength in motion. They need to look at that page and say, okay, you're here, you trust us, what now?
But if I'm that user in New York or Qatar, I can't book a physical appointment. So does the call to action change?
It has to. If you just have a book appointment button for a clinic in a different time zone, you're wasting that traffic.
So dynamic CTAs.
Or a diversified business model. Maybe you offer remote pain coaching. Maybe you have a downloadable guide or a video course.
Ah, I see. So if you rank for Chronic Pain Coach New York, you better have a way to sell coaching to a New Yorker.
Precisely. Don't let the geography be a barrier. Let it be a new product line. If Google is handing you 80 leads, figure out how to sell to them.
That is the active part of the active acquisition engine. You can't just watch the GSC graph go up. You have to capitalize.
SEO gets them to the door. Your business model has to invite them in.
I love that. It really demystifies the whole process. It's not magic. It's not knowing a guy at Google. It's identifying a problem, answering it better than anyone else, and then making it easy for the user to say yes.
That's it in a nutshell.
So, big picture takeaway. For the person listening who just opened a new tab to check their own Google Search Console, and I know you did, what is the one thing they should look for?
Look at the queries report. Filter out your brand name. If you remove your company name and the list is empty, you have a problem.
You're a handshake.
You're a handshake. But if you see even one weird query something about a specific problem or a question pull on that thread, write the best answer on the internet for that one question.
And don't be afraid to be the global expert, even if you're just a local shop.
Especially if you're a local shop. That authority is the tide that lifts all boats.
102 impressions to 1088, 0 clicks to 80. The math doesn't lie. It's time to wake up those sleeping storefronts. Thanks for breaking this down with us.
Always a pleasure.
And to our listener, go check your plumbing. We'll see you in the next deep dive.